At 30, Sophia had built the life she once dreamed of. As a manager at Preston and Associates, she was known for her sharp instincts, ability to lead, and a work ethic that could put anyone to shame. Her corner office on the 19th floor, with its sprawling view of the bustling city below, was a testament to a decade of hard work. Every promotion, every late night at the office, every missed vacation had brought her to this moment of success. But success, Sophia often reflected, came with its own costs. Her younger sisters, Lila and Chloe, had chosen different paths. Lila, at 25, was a mother of two, her days filled with playdates and PTA meetings. Chloe, 28, had a 3-year-old daughter and a newborn, juggling diapers and family dinners with surprising ease. Sophia admired their lives from a distance, watching milestones unfold through group chats and social media posts. First steps, first words, birthday parties, all moments Sophia wasn't a part of. Though she was proud of what she had accomplished, there was an ache that lingered. She'd chosen her career, but in doing so, she often wondered if she'd lost something intangible along the way. Family gatherings often left her feeling like an outsider, the one who wasn't quite in sync with the rest of them. It wasn't that her family excluded her intentionally. They always expressed pride in her accomplishments, but the subtle differences in their lives felt like an invisible wall. When her sisters swapped stories of teething babies or sleepless nights, Sophia had nothing to contribute. She envied their camaraderie, the shared experiences she wasn't part of. One crisp Tuesday morning, as Sophia sifted through a stack of reports at her desk, her phone buzzed. Lila's name lit up the screen, and Sophia answered with her usual briskness.
Hey, Ash.
Lila's chirpy voice greeted her. Got a minute? Sophia smiled, setting her pen down. For you? Always. What's up? The call quickly turned to their mother's upcoming 58th birthday. Lila and Chloe had been brainstorming ways to make it special. Sophia listened eagerly, her heart lifting at the thought of being part of the planning. We're keeping it simple this year, Lila said. Just a family gathering at home. But we need everyone to chip in and take some time off to make it work. Say no more, Sophia replied without hesitation. I'll transfer my share today and block off my calendar. It'll be great to celebrate together. As she hung up the call, Sophia felt a rare sense of excitement. For once, she wouldn't just be the distant sister, the one too busy with work to be present. This time, she hoped, things would be different. The dining room of Sophia's parents' home buzzed with the familiar chaos of a family gathering. Plates clinked as her mother fussed over serving everyone's favorite dishes, her father told the same old jokes that still earned polite laughter, and her sisters chatted animatedly about their latest parenting escapades. Sophia sat at the table, quietly enjoying the moment. It had been too long since she'd been surrounded by her family like this. As the evening settled, Lila tapped her glass with a spoon, calling for attention. All right, everyone, listen up. We've got an announcement. Sophia's curiosity piqued as the room hushed. Lila stood, a broad smile on her face, and glanced at Chloe, who gave her an encouraging nod. For Mom's 58th, we've finalized the plans, Lila began. We're spending a week at Pine Ridge Resort. Excited chatter erupted. Their dad immediately started reminiscing about his skiing days. Chloe began discussing gear for the kids, and their mom beamed at the thought of a winter getaway. Sophia found herself smiling, too, imagining a week of bonding, fun, and memories. This is perfect, Sophia said. I've already blocked my schedule. I can't wait. Lila's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, and Sophia noticed Chloe avoid her gaze. Something felt off. Well, Lila hesitated before pushing forward, her tone overly casual. Actually, Ash, we were hoping you could do us a huge favor. Sophia frowned slightly. What kind of favor? Babysitting. Chloe chimed in, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. You're so good with the kids, and they absolutely adore their Aunt Sophia. It'll just be for the week, while we're at the resort. You don't mind, do you? The words landed like a punch to Sophia's gut. She stared at her sisters, hoping someone would laugh and say it was a joke. But their faces held no humor, only the expectation of her agreement. Wait, Sophia said slowly, trying to keep her voice steady. You want me to stay behind and watch all 5 kids while you all celebrate at the resort? Come on, Ash, Lila said, waving a hand dismissively. It's not a big deal. You're great with them. That's not the point, Sophia replied, her chest tightening. I want to celebrate, too. It's Mom's birthday. Chloe sighed, exchanging a glance with Lila. Sophia, you'll be bored there anyway. You're not really into skiing, and the kids would have more fun with you. Bored? Sophia could hardly believe what she was hearing. So, you all decided this without even asking me? It's not like you need a break from family life, Lila said, her tone shifting to condescension. You don't have a husband or kids. We do. This is our chance to relax. The words hit like a slap, and Sophia felt the weight of a decade's worth of sacrifices bearing down on her. Memories flashed through her mind, skipping vacations to help her parents, babysitting at a moment's notice, and sending money home to support her sisters. All the times she'd been reliable, responsible, selfless, and never asked for anything in return. So, because I don't have kids, my time doesn't matter? Sophia asked, her voice shaking with restrained emotion. Don't be dramatic, Chloe said, rolling her eyes. We're all pitching in. This is just your part. Her part. As if this was a duty she was obligated to fulfill. I've always helped, Sophia said, her voice gaining strength. But this isn't help. This is you all deciding my role for me. The table grew uncomfortably quiet. Her mom cleared her throat, breaking the tension. Honey, they're just asking for a favor. Family sticks together. Sophia met her mother's gaze, her frustration bubbling over. Family respects each other, too. They include each other. None of you even thought to ask me if this was okay? Lila crossed her arms, clearly irritated. Why are you making this such a big deal? It's just 1 week. You've always said yes before. Sophia froze at those words. They had always assumed she'd say yes, always taken her sacrifices for granted. Something inside her shifted. No, she said firmly, surprising even herself. I'm not doing it. The room erupted into protests and accusations, but Sophia had already made up her mind. For the first time, she wasn't going to let them dictate her role. As she sat there, their voices blending into a cacophony of disbelief and guilt-tripping, Sophia realized something important. It wasn't just about this trip. It was about years of being overlooked, of her life being undervalued. This time, she was drawing the line. Sophia sat on her couch, staring at her phone. The family dinner replayed in her mind, each word cutting deeper as she remembered their dismissive tone and entitled expectations. For years, she had put herself last, bending over backward to accommodate everyone else. But this time, something inside her refused to yield. She opened her laptop, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. If they didn't want her at the resort as part of the celebration, fine. She would do something else, something for herself. Within an hour, Sophia had booked a week-long vacation to Florida. A beachfront hotel, a first-class plane ticket, and all the freedom she could hope for. The same money and time she had set aside for the resort trip would now be spent on rediscovering her own happiness. The morning of her departure, Sophia took one last look around her apartment. Everything was in order. The fridge was empty, the windows locked. She placed her phone in her bag and made a deliberate decision to keep it switched off for the next week. No messages, no calls, no guilt. The warm Florida breeze greeted Sophia as she stepped out of the airport, the salty air already lifting her spirits. Her hotel was a dream, a cozy room with a balcony overlooking the endless blue ocean. That first afternoon, she kicked off her shoes and walked barefoot along the shoreline, the cool sand squeezing between her toes. Waves lapped at her feet, their rhythmic crash soothing her frazzled mind. For the first time in years, Sophia felt completely at peace. Each day in Florida unfolded like a dream. She started her mornings with coffee on the balcony, watching the sunrise paint the sky in hues of pink and orange. Afternoons were spent exploring the quaint beachside shops, enjoying quiet meals at outdoor cafes, and indulging in the simple pleasure of reading, a luxury she hadn't allowed herself in years. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sophia sat on the beach with a journal she'd picked up from a local shop. She began writing, not about work or family obligations, but about herself. Her dreams. Her desires. The person she wanted to be outside of everyone else's expectations. With each passing day, the weight she'd carried for so long seemed to melt away. For the first time, Sophia wasn't someone's sister, daughter, or reliable fallback. She was just herself, and it felt liberating. Back home, chaos was brewing. On the morning of the resort trip, Sophia's family arrived at her apartment, suitcases in tow and kids in tow. They rang the doorbell, expecting to find her ready to take on her assigned role as the babysitter. Instead, they were met with silence. Lila was the first to call. When Sophia didn't pick up, the messages began. Lila's voicemail, "Sophia, we're outside. Are you coming to the door? The kids are getting restless." Next came Chloe. "Hey, Ash, this isn't funny. Open up. We're going to be late for check-in." As the realization set in that Sophia wasn't home, confusion quickly turned to panic. By mid-morning, the tone of the messages shifted. "Daniel, Sophia, where are you? You can't just disappear like this. We're counting on you." By the afternoon, panic gave way to anger. "Lila, you selfish witch. How could you do this to us? Do you have any idea what you've ruined? Chloe, Mom's birthday is falling apart because of you. I can't believe you'd be so immature." Even her mother joined in, sending her a curt message. "I never thought I'd see the day when you'd put yourself before your family. I'm so disappointed in you, Sophia." Meanwhile, Sophia lay on a lounge chair by the hotel pool, sipping a fruity drink and soaking up the sun. Her phone remained off, tucked away in her bag, where it couldn't intrude on her newfound peace. She had no idea what her family was saying, and for the first time, she didn't care. By the end of the week, Sophia felt lighter than she had in years. The Florida sun had left her skin glowing, but it was more than that. She'd rediscovered a part of herself she hadn't realized was missing, the part that deserved to be valued, respected, and, most importantly, happy. When she returned home and finally turned on her phone, it exploded with missed calls, voicemails, and texts. She scrolled through them, reading the accusations, guilt-tripping, and outright insults from her family. The messages no longer stung as they once would have. Instead, they reinforced what she already knew. They had never truly seen her as a person, only as someone to rely on when it suited them. Sophia placed her phone on the counter, letting out a deep breath. She wouldn't respond, not this time. Her resolve was stronger than ever. For years, she'd been the dependable one, the selfless sister who never said no. But now, she saw things clearly. Choosing herself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. As she unpacked her suitcase, her mind drifted back to the ocean, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. That week had been a turning point, and she wasn't going back to who she was before. Sophia was finally living life on her own terms. Months later, Sophia found herself driving to her parents' house for her mom's birthday. The resort trip had long since passed, and the fallout from her absence had been substantial. The family had barely spoken to her since, their texts curt and their calls non-existent. Still, when her mom invited her to a smaller birthday gathering, Sophia decided to go. She hoped it might be a chance to mend things, or at least clear the air. She walked into the house carrying a carefully chosen gift, a scrapbook filled with memories from her mom's life, complete with handwritten notes from each significant moment. Sophia had poured hours into it, hoping it would remind her mom how much she cared despite everything. The living room was quieter than usual. Her dad was watching TV. Chloe and Lila were chatting in the corner, and the kids were running around, their laughter echoing through the house. Sophia forced a smile and greeted everyone, though the tension in the air was palpable. As the evening progressed, Sophia tried to engage in small talk, but it was clear her sisters were keeping their distance. Her mom, too, was distant, speaking to her only when necessary. Still, Sophia stayed hopeful, thinking the mood might improve when it was time for the cake. When the moment finally arrived, Sophia offered to help bring out the dessert. She carefully carried the cake into the dining room, its candles flickering softly. Everyone gathered around as Sophia placed it in front of her mom. "Happy birthday, Mom," Sophia said warmly, handing her the knife. "Make a wish." Her mom stared at the cake for a moment, then at Sophia. The room grew quiet, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words. "So, this is your way of making up for abandoning us," her mom said sharply, her voice cutting through the silence. Sophia froze, caught off guard.
"What?"
"You heard me," her mom continued, her tone growing harsher. "You left us in the lurch, ruined my birthday trip, and now you think a cake and a scrapbook will fix everything?" The words stung, but Sophia tried to stay calm. "Mom, I didn't abandon anyone. I just needed to set boundaries." "Boundaries?" her mom interrupted, her voice rising. "You mean selfishness. You've changed, Sophia. You're not the daughter I raised." Sophia's chest tightened as the accusations piled on. She glanced around the room, but no one came to her defense. Her sisters looked down, their silence speaking volumes. Her mom suddenly grabbed a handful of the cake, her face twisted with anger. "You want to know what I think of your boundaries?" Before Sophia could react, her mom smashed the cake into her face. Gasps echoed through the room as frosting dripped down Sophia's cheeks. The humiliation was overwhelming, but Sophia didn't flinch. She stood there, stunned but resolute, wiping the frosting away with trembling hands. The room was eerily silent as Sophia took a deep breath. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but firm. "You know what, Mom? You're right. I've changed," Sophia said, her gaze steady despite the tears threatening to fall. "I've spent my entire life putting this family first. I gave up vacations, nights out, even my own peace of mind to support you all. And for what? To be treated like this?" Her mom opened her mouth to speak, but Sophia held up a hand.
"No."
"Let me finish. I've always said yes, always been the reliable one, always been the person you could count on. But it's never been enough. The one time I chose myself, the one time I said no, you decided I was the villain." The words hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Sophia looked at her sisters, her voice softening. "I love you all, but I deserve respect. I deserve to be seen as more than just someone you can use when it's convenient." Her mom's face hardened. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." Sophia's heart ached, but she didn't hesitate. "If that's what it takes to live my life on my terms, then so be it." With that, Sophia turned and walked toward the door. She didn't look back, even as her mother called out, her voice laced with anger and bitterness. The sound of the door closing behind her was both painful and freeing. Outside, Sophia stood on the porch, the cool night air hitting her flushed face. She wiped the remaining frosting from her cheeks and took a deep breath. Despite the hurt, she felt lighter, freer than she had in years. She had finally stood up for herself, finally drawn a line. As she walked to her car, Sophia knew this moment would change everything. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, she was walking it on her own terms. And that, she realized, was worth everything. The aftermath of the confrontation was as predictable as it was exhausting. Sophia's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications from family members, their disappointment now channeled into thinly veiled posts on social media. Lila's post. "Some people forget that family should always come first. So blessed to have those who truly understand what that means." Chloe's update. "Grateful for those who stand by family no matter what. Toxic people have no place in our lives." Her mom's post. "Raise my kids to value family, but I guess not all lessons stick." Heartbreaking. Sophia read each one, her chest tightening momentarily before she set her phone down. The old Sophia might have lost sleep over these words, drafting responses in her head, wondering if she was truly in the wrong. But not anymore. She had seen through the manipulation and she wasn't going back. Instead of engaging, Sophia redirected her energy toward herself. She joined a book club at a local cafe, attending her first meeting on a quiet Saturday morning. Sitting among strangers, sipping coffee, and discussing novels felt strange at first, but it was liberating. For the first time in years, her weekend wasn't dictated by someone else's needs. She also started planning her next vacation, a solo trip to Europe in the spring. She didn't check with anyone's schedule or ask for anyone's approval. It was her decision, her time, her money. Each step she took toward rebuilding her life felt like shedding a weight she didn't realize she'd been carrying. She went to the theater alone, something she'd always wanted to try, but never had the time for. She spent quiet evenings journaling, her thoughts pouring onto the pages as she reflected on her journey. Despite the newfound peace, Sophia's thoughts often drifted to her nieces and nephews. She missed their laughter, their wide-eyed curiosity, their unfiltered joy. They were the one part of her family she truly longed to keep close. She hoped that someday, when they were older, they would understand her decision. Maybe they'd even see the same patterns and make different choices for themselves. One evening, as Sophia scrolled through her phone, her eyes landed on the family group chat. It had been dormant for weeks, a digital reminder of the ties she had once bent over backward to maintain. She stared at it for a long moment, her thumb hovering over the delete option. Finally, she pressed it. The chat disappeared from her screen, leaving a blank space where the group once existed. Sophia sat back, a sense of finality washing over her. Deleting the chat wasn't just about removing the messages, it was a symbol of her resolve. She had chosen self-respect, and she wasn't going to compromise that choice again. The future felt uncertain, but for the first time, it was hers to shape. Sophia smiled to herself, a quiet but powerful affirmation of the life she was building, on her terms.